Oh, there we go.
Oh, man. Dude, by the way, man, we hung up last week and I'm like, oh, and I stand up. I'm like, holy shit. It was so bad. I went into Milana and I said, listen, if you see me on the floor, call 911. Like, I thought I was going down. I went and I ate something real quick because I don't know what the hell happened.
Is your blood sugar low maybe or something?
I don't know. It was weird. I've never felt like that before. I mean, that was one bourbon. Come on, man. That's an appetizer.
You at the end, I'm like,
yeah.
You were speeding up or something. Like, what the hell's going on over there?
Something went south. I don't know what the hell happened, but yeah, I had like cold sweats and my hands were shaking. I don't know. I don't know if I was talking too much, like the booze plus talking too much. The light in my, because I got a light over here. You can't. Well, maybe you can see it.
Yeah.
So I got a light that, like, maybe I don't know. It was so weird. But I really was like ready to go down for the count, man.
But I got to tell you, doing it live, I felt something was up. But we listened to it yesterday. It didn't sound that off. So
I don't know who the hell it was that told me. I sent it to someone who I texted it to someone. Oh, my friend Joe Graziano. And he was like, dude, like, what the hell? He says, I could tell you're fucked. I've known him since I'm 5. I've been, drinking with him so many times. He's like, what the hell? You sounded like, you were a mess. I go, dude, it was one bourbon. Like it's something was not right. I don't know what the hell happened, but something definitely was not right.
When did you start feeling better though? A couple hours later or like
No, like maybe like within a half an hour, I was fine, but it was just
maybe something was
but not right away. It wasn't like I sat down and I was good. Like I was a little funky for like 20 minutes, half hour.
Yeah.
And then I was fine. And then I had more drinks.
Well, everything's right now. Let's go.
Everything's okay. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by my good friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I have a little announcement to make for you. Our most recent podcast was our most listened in the last 2 months. So for whatever reason, we had a big listenership. And as always, we really appreciate that from everybody. Thank you very much.
They must like a loaded Pete Colasano.
Oh, something else. It was a special start, middle, and finish. So we're closing in on 3,500 listeners, which would be another nice milestone for us to cross. So again, we thank everybody for listening in.
Yes, absolutely.
Want to get started with some NFL? I know things have gotten very interesting. So what do we got from last week? Some big games we had last week. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the dead and buried Green Bay Packers. That maybe they're not dead and buried just yet. They make a late comeback. They look like a little lethargic all game long, and they come back. And I think now Aaron Rodgers goes 25-5 against the Bears.
Yeah, and listen, I've been on off the Justin Fields train from before the draft. I just didn't see a great passer. And what you saw again this week was what we've seen over and over and over again. Unbelievable athlete, incredible competitor, hard worker. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the game, when you have to pass and the other team knows you have to pass, what did he do? He threw 2 interceptions.
Yep.
And they were bad. These were bad interceptions. So he has an amazing game until it's crunch time and you have to throw and you can't.
Yep.
And that's just the way it goes. So anybody who sits there and says, well, he's clearly the guy. Really? You sure about that? Okay, because I don't see it yet. I see an amazing runner. So here's what I came up with when I was thinking about this. If you think historically, there are some historical quarterbacks that are statues. Tom Brady, Dan Marino, but to be honest with you, Peyton Manning, these are statues for the most part. They need a clean pocket to do their thing, or at least they're going to throw from the pocket. All 3 of those guys, they can get rid of the ball super quick, and that was their superpower. You can kind of say quick processing, get the ball out of your hands quickly. But if you look historically, Joe Montana, Steve Young, you look down the list of successful quarterbacks, John Elway, they could run the ball. Steve Young was amazing. John Elway, especially early in his career, was an amazing runner. But they weren't runners who could throw the ball. They were quarterbacks who had this extra ability to run when they had to, chose to, needed to. And that's the difference. We've gone from saying, this is the new. No, it really isn't. There really isn't much difference, historically speaking, to the real successful quarterbacks of all time. You're talking about guys who distribute the football. You have to most of your job as a quarterback, handing off, throwing the ball. You're just not going to make a long-term living either within the season as a winning ball club or over the course of your career if you're primarily a runner first. It's just historically that player doesn't exist on a championship level. And that's, again, what we're seeing with Justin Fields. Oh, he's an amazing runner. Yeah, but that's not the primary job of the quarterback position. The primary job of that position is to get the ball to anywhere from 5 to 9 other guys on the team. He doesn't do that part very well.
You know, a guy who we liked all for 2 years now, and probably before the show started into college, Jalen Hurts. He has absolutely improved his passing game so much where, like, he is so effective now with his legs and his arms. He gets a lot of man-to-man coverage because they're afraid to run. They're afraid he's going to run on him, and now he's making the throws, and now they're like, I don't know how to defend this guy.
That is exactly the difference. Jalen Hurts, so we could get into that game next if we can get right to that game if you want.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
That's the big difference because the very reason that Chicago lost is the very reason that Philadelphia didn't just win, they romped. You set out who are they playing against? Tennessee, right?
Yep.
They set out, they made a commitment. Tennessee made a commitment. We're going to stop. We're not going to let Jalen Hurts or this running game get off. And so what they're saying is, we know you're going to throw it. You have to throw it. We don't think you can beat us. And he goes out and throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, whatever the hell he ended up doing. Like, amazing game. And that's the difference. Jalen Hurts runs when he has to or when it's ridiculously available. We talked last week about that first quarter when he ran for 100 yards. There was no one within 20 yards of him. Of course he should take off. That's when Steve Young would have taken off. That's when Joe Montana would have taken off. All these guys who were runners second would have done the exact same thing in those very spots. But when they, against Tennessee, when they took that away, he wasn't screwed. He thrived. Decision-making, anticipation, doing these things in a timely fashion. He's doing those things great. He doesn't have as good an arm as Justin Fields. He doesn't have as good an arm as Lamar Jackson. He's not even as fast as those guys. But he's more effective because he does the passing side of it better than both of them. Significantly better than both of them. So that's the difference. And that's the difference with why Philadelphia, I think maybe I'm starting to be convinced that they are the best team in the league. Because you can take one aspect of their game away totally, which Tennessee did. To their credit, they took that part. They took the running game and the Jalen Hurts run away, and it didn't matter.
Nope.
That's a big difference. That is the difference between a quarterback a passing quarterback who can run and a guy who's a great runner who we try to have him throw the ball sometimes. That's wildcat. I mean, that's basically what you're telling me Chicago's doing right now is they're running a wildcat, a glorified version of the wildcat because he's just not a great passer.
Yeah, that's good.
And in the end of games, when you're down by a field goal, you're down by 4, you're down by 8, you're screwed.
The New York Jets make a ferocious comeback and fall short twice at Minnesota.
Yep. Comes down to one thing and one thing only, red zone offense, 5 field goals, and it just wasn't enough. If their record, we've talked about moral victories, if their record wasn't what it is or wasn't what it was, you could really look at this and say this was a quasi-moral victory. A close game against a 9-2 team, sure. A comeback, a ferocious comeback to where you really had a touchdown dropped in the end zone by Berrios, which would have given you the lead. You could say it's a moral victory, but it's not because you are in the playoff hunt and you need wins, period. And if you don't make the playoffs at this point, because you've been in a playoff, if the playoffs had ended or if the season had ended for the last 2 weeks, you'd be in. I don't know if they are right now. If the season ended today, I don't think
they're 7-5.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
I'm not sure because Miami lost also, and New England. So I'm not sure.
And the Chargers.
So they might still be. But there's no more moral victories. When you're this far into the season and you're a playoff contender, there are no more moral victories. So, but what I thought was the most fascinating thing about that, you lose the game. Mike White was good in the second half, but, he didn't get the win. But yet after the game, you had guys like Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and a couple of the linemen, I'll go to war with that guy. And it's like, what has happened? Zach Wilson, if you remember in a preseason, this is probably, was it in the summer? We were talking about how smart it was that he got all his receivers and the tight ends. And remember, they did some getaway where camping and drinking and cigars. But yet also during the day, they were practicing and throwing, and he was really showing leadership. And Uzomah was like, oh, this kid, he really taking the lead. I told you last week, he was voted captain. And now this is going to be 3 weeks in a row. They won't even let the kid dress. What happened?
It's crazy.
What happened? There's a story here.
Oh, yeah.
We're not getting that someday will be told. And I'm fascinated to know what it is. I'm fascinated to know if he was pushing back against coaches who were saying, man, you got to settle down. You got to get the ball out of your hand. Hey, if you have to, you take the sack. Hey, if you have to, you throw it away. And he's like, fuck that. I want to make plays. I don't know. I don't know. But there's more going on here than just his mechanics have soured because you won't even let him dress. And it begs the question, if the Jets were in a position to draft one of the top quarterbacks, would they do it? I'm so fascinated to know that at this point.
On the other side of that game, real quick, the Vikings, though, this is the third or fourth time they got off to a big lead, and then they let the other team have a chance to win it or tie it. That's not a great – they're not a great closing team for sure.
What's different about them this year as opposed to the past is they're winning all those games.
Yeah, true.
They're either making a short comeback late or they're holding on late even though it's not pretty. Listen, they should have lost that game. Barrios had that ball hit them more or less right in the fucking face. And then Jets had another chance they were down there. Bad call to me. 3rd and 4th down from the 1 yard line. One of those plays has to be a run. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you jammed it down their throat the whole second half. One of those plays has to be a running play. And that was Bam Knight was really a powerful runner living up to his name. Yeah. A straight up and down runner, straight ahead runner. I would have liked to seen him carry the ball at least one of those times. I probably would have just given it to him twice. I mean, if you can't score from the 1 yard line, say what's the difference, right? If you throw it and they still have the ball at the 1 yard line, what's the difference if you run it and they still have the ball at the 1 yard line? So, I had an issue with that, but anyway, Vikings do win and they keep winning. It's not always pretty, and I don't know if it's sustainable once the playoffs come. But dude, they're 10-2, and at some point you got to say, well, they're winning these games. It is what it is. They are winning the games.
The Commanders and Giants tie at the Meadowlands.
I don't know. What'd you think about that game?
I think the Giants got a weird personal unsportsmanlike conduct call, which I don't think it was. I think the ref misunderstood it. I think he was going to celebrate with his guy, and the ref thought he was going after the Commander guy. I don't know what it was, but that took him out of field goal range. Then they had a kick, and then Heineke's got fucking balls. He's throwing balls, going to his left for completions for 30 yards.
That one pass was bananas. That one was crazy. I was watching with someone and I said, I didn't think that's who, when he let it go, I didn't think that's who he was throwing it to.
Me neither.
I was like, wait, what the hell just, I didn't think that was going there. It was on a dime. That was a beautiful play.
It was.
I mean, I looked at this game when we previewed it last week, and I'm like, two teams going in two very different directions. And then they go and tie, and it's like, well, they're kind of almost like mirror images of each other. They both play pretty good defense. They both would prefer to run the ball. They both have mediocre quarterbacks, and they went and tied.
And they play in 2 weeks again.
Yeah, and they play in 2 weeks again after Washington gets a bye. So it was an interesting game. I thought the Giants should have won, but
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Fucking Broncos did it again. Lost a big lead. Ravens last second touchdown without Lamar Jackson for most of the game. That's a big one for the Ravens. You can't lose back-to-back against Jacksonville and Denver. That would have been really bad for them. Huntley's a good backup. Sloppy game.
Right? He is a pretty good backup.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Denver's defense is
Fantastic.
It's even better than we think because how do they keep doing it when they're on the field all the time?
I don't know, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Denver's offense is so bad. Usually what happens is when the offense stinks, they're off the field and the defense is back on quick. And then sooner or later you wear down. Like you just can't keep that. But they do. So I'm saying as much as their defense is good, I think their defense is even better than we think it is. Could you imagine how good that defense would be if the offense was on the field more? Like, I think they could be actually even better. They'd be rested. It's bad, man. I was listening to Colin Cowherd today, and he's like, I think it's 50% Hackett and 30% the offensive line. I'm like, wow, isn't it funny how the Seattle offensive line was so bad, and that's why he left, and now it's good with Geno Smith. And now all of a sudden, what everybody thought was a good offensive line, now it's a bad offensive line. Yeah. And he's like, I don't know, some of it's Russell Wilson. Some of it? Are you even watching the game? Are you watching what's going on? You just don't want to admit it. And I get that. I'm sure no Denver fan would want to admit it because as you have pointed out a number of times, his actual extension didn't even kick in yet.
No.
That's the scary part. Like, you're not moving that one.
I admit it. I admit that it's horrible. I think
So something's got to be done. What's fascinating is everybody wants to get rid of Hackett. Okay. I mean, I don't think he's great, but I don't know that he's the major problem. Here is the real problem. First of all, he doesn't even call the plays anymore. So he gave that up. So now is it the offense coordinator's fault too? Like, so it was Hackett's fault, and now it's this guy's fault. Who are you bringing in? Are you going to bring in Bieniemy? And then if Russell Wilson still isn't performing well, is it Bieniemy's fault too? Or is it Andy Reid's fault? Because
how many guys are we going to blame here? Yeah,
at some point,
when's the train end?
Yeah, and the post game with Russell Wilson was so cringy because he still tries to be like positive.
No, he's the worst.
Like, we just gotta go out there and make play. It's like, dude, can you just be pissed off one fucking time? Like, can you just show some raw emotion instead of just the corporate line all the time? I don't know.
So I think they'd be now 10-2 if they average 18 points a game. That's
I think I saw that they scored 20. If they scored just 20 points, which would still keep them as one of the lowest scoring teams in the league.
They'd be 10-2.
They'd be 10-2.
Is that amazing?
Is
that amazing?
That is just ridiculous.
That's on so many levels.
Unheard of, man. It's unheard of. 20 points. If you just give him 20 points, 10-2, you'd be first place. He'd be the 1 seed.
That's why I drink.
Crazy. That's not the only reason. That's
probably not.
If they were 10-2, I'd be sober all the time.
How much time do you have? Our buddy Jimmy G goes down again. This guy is absolutely snake bit. But the Niners, Brock Purdy comes in and beats the Dolphins at home. You had this one picked correctly, sir.
Yeah, well, I didn't know it was going to be Brock Purdy that did such a great job. Dude, he looked good.
He did.
He looked good. It's what I was most stunned about is how quickly he processed and got the ball out of his hands. And I wonder how much of this comes down to he was a 4-year starter. He was a pretty highly regarded player coming out of high school. 4-year starter at Iowa State. And you wonder, like, we all the time we see like the Mark Sanchez's and the Zach Wilsons and some of these other guys that are kind of like 1-year hits in college and then they go pro. And we see guys who are like play starters for 3 or 4 years and they see Kenny Pickett immediately plays well right away. Josh Allen progresses very quickly. Why? 3 or 4-year starter. I wonder how much of that has an effect on how well he came in. Now, listen, a couple games under his belt, coaches, defensive coordinators start to get some film on him, and we'll see how far that goes. But God damn, when I see anticipation, that means a couple things. Number one, he's processing quickly. He's processing the play. He knows the routes that are going to be there, and he's able to read the defenses quickly. And he's making decisions this is exact opposite of Justin Fields. Here's a guy who comes in, has no practice with the number ones, no snaps. He gets no snaps with the number ones. That's all Jimmy Garoppolo. And he's able to make processing like that. And we see other guys who just can't do it. When you see it, you know it. You know what I mean? We don't have to. He's nowhere even near a Justin Fields as far as like the physical attributes. They're not even in the same
and he looks 16.
Yeah. But that processing and anticipation the quickness with which that gets done, that makes all the difference. And you saw it there. It was really impressive. I was really impressed with how quickly he was getting the ball out of his hands and not dink and dunk. He was throwing a ball.
Yeah.
Like he was chucking the ball. It was impressive. But they're loaded, dude. That's the other thing. How much is he going to be needed to do? They're loaded. That defense that's as physical a defense as I've seen since maybe like the Baltimore Ravens when they won the championship. Like that's a physical, fast, aggressive defense, dude. They're like clearly the best defense in the league right now. Them and Denver, but I think they're even more physical than Denver.
Yeah.
But damn, yeah, it's an interesting. I'm fascinated to see. Did you think that they were going to try to sign Baker? I didn't see where the improvement is.
I didn't either.
You got a guy who's been with you from camp.
I thought they might have went back to like a CJ Beathard or a Mullins, a guy that's been there before that knows the offense. Then the Baker Mayfield.
Were those guys available?
I don't know. That was my first thought.
I didn't know if they were on other teams because the trade deadline's passed. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they are there now. But
yeah, I wouldn't have done it. Why bring chaos? I don't know why you would want chaos on a team that's in first place in your division. I just don't. You got a guy there who's familiar with the offense. How much better is Baker Mayfield than Purdy? I don't know. Is he? I don't even know if he is. So
Bengals make it 3 in a row against the Chiefs.
Yeah, so they make me look brilliant in my analysis because I've been saying for a few weeks now, it just looks like week to week to week. For the first half of the season, or I don't know if it was even the first half, maybe like first third, they were like fumbling, win a couple, lose a couple. They weren't looking so great. Offensive line is playing better. Joe Burrow he really is Joe Montana. You look at him next to Pat Mahomes, you're like, nah, there's no comparison. You look at him next to Josh Allen, you're like, nah, there's no comparison. But he is Joe Cool. I mean, he does not get flustered. He does not give a shit what you throw at him. He is as impressive as there is because he's not as talented. He's not as physically gifted as some of these other guys. But goddamn, does he make good decisions? It's accurate as shit. 3 straight wins, 3 straight times Cincinnati beats Kansas City. That's not nothing.
Nope.
That's not nothing. I'm impressed. I'm seeing a great job by Burrow, and I'm seeing a great job by their coach, who has bit by bit, piece by piece, week after week, narrowing them down into a better team. And I really do feel like as the season comes to an end, the regular season comes to an end, they're going to be at their best. In the last 8 weeks, too, both line of scrimmages have improved, and that's where. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Whatever they're doing, they're tweaking little by little. No massive changes, just little by little each week. You remember all the calls like in the beginning of the season? It's Stefanski, right? He's the no. Taylor, Zach Taylor. Oh, he's still over his head. It was a fluke last year. When I see this kind of stuff, I see these like small incremental, like we're not going to abandon what we do, but we aren't going to just, hope it gets better. Like you see improvements being made. It's impressive to me, especially for a young coach like that.
Yep. Our boy in the Chargers continue to be mediocre. That's a bad loss.
He needs to go, dude. He needs to go. Now, listen, don't get me. I think the Raiders have won 3 straight games.
Yeah.
Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And you can start to see what was their coach? Jesus. McDaniels' effect on this team. There's, you're seeing Adams get the ball a lot more. They're looking better. But there's a lot of holes.
Well, they're running the football, too. Jacobs is averaging 160 yards a game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, offensively, they're starting to click, and you can see that. And it's no coincidence that Mac Jones looks terrible in New England and McDaniels isn't there. So, like, there is a little something to that.
Well, also doesn't help that Joe Judge and Matt Patricia as offensive coordinators. That makes no sense either.
That's what I'm saying. For sure. There's a big difference between two guys who used to coach defense and Josh McDaniel calling the plays for you.
Seriously.
So, but you can clearly see he's starting to have a positive effect. It took a little while, and maybe he was trying to figure things out, but he's clearly starting to figure things out. They're getting things done. But Staley's got to go. I mean, you texted me in the middle of that game, like, this guy, what's wrong with this guy? Like, the decision making is just weird. Again, you remember when we did our preseason stuff, I said, you can't keep telling me that you have a top 5 quarterback, but yet you keep missing the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they're on the brink of missing the playoffs again. And I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, if they did. Injuries, sure. Everybody's got injuries. Jets have injuries. You're gonna tell me I was almost at San Diego. You tell me the Chargers aren't better, more talented than the Jets? I'm sorry, but they are. I don't like saying it. I don't like that it's the case, but they are.
Peter,
We're
me
using
either,
a backup
damn it.
quarterback. We're using a backup. You got
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Give me a break. The conversation ends there.
Last one for me, dude.
He's got to go. He's got to go. To me, if I'm the owner, I don't know how this works. I don't understand. I don't know how tampering works. I don't know who you're allowed to talk to and who's allowed to talk to who. Can the owner's wife, can Mrs. Walmart go talk to Sean Payton on her own? Like, I don't know. Or maybe Mrs. Walmart can talk to Mrs. Payton and say, are you interested? Because the job's yours. Just tell me you're interested and I'll fire this bum and then the job's yours.
Oh.
Because if you're Sean Payton, there's no other job to me that even comes close.
No, I agree.
You get to be in Southern California. You get a top 5 quarterback built in. Dude, I'd make that happen. Go ahead. Sorry.
Last one. Tom Brady does it again. Breaks Peyton Manning's record for most comebacks, which is funny that Peyton Manning retired 5 years ago and he just broke it now. But Brady's not losing much either. So
I was going to say he's not. He wasn't often coming from behind.
Yeah.
He's usually holding off the lead.
Down 16-3 with 3 minutes to go, and they scored 2 touchdowns. Just remarkable to still.
That's not a good team.
No, their offensive line is bad, dude.
It's bad.
Oh,
it's bad. He missed a few throws in that game too, which was a little uncharacteristic of him. But this is not a good team. It's so funny. Like, they're 500 now. They're in first place in their division, so they're going to get a home game, which is funny. But we won't count them out, right?
No,
like we're all just like waiting. Like, sooner or later, they're going to turn it around.
And I bet you ask all the teams in the AFC, they don't want to go there.
No, of course not. You feel like you're getting screwed, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're so it wouldn't be the Jets because that's AFC. So like
Dallas.
Okay, so you got a better record, like a significantly better record, and now you're going to have to go on the road at Tampa where you lost earlier this season. Like, it's a total screw job, but that's the way it goes. Win your division. Like, your job number one is win your division. So, but if that game happened, I mean, would you expect Tampa to beat Dallas right now? Like the way both of them are playing right now. No. But yet there's also a part of you that's like, but it's Tom Brady. Yeah. Sooner or later, they're going to figure it out.
All of a sudden they explode for 31 points. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Because listen, they still have some good receivers. They still have Tom Brady. But as we've said a million times, college football, Michigan versus Ohio State, NFL, the Eagle, it all comes down to what happens in the trenches. Mm-hmm. If who's dominating the offensive line, and they don't dominate the offensive line.
No, they do not.
It's a bad offensive line. Man, it's a problem.
Week 14 preview. I got a couple for you, sir. I'll start with your boys, the Jets at the Bills. And did I see this line at 9 points?
Yeah. Wow. I think it's high, and I won't touch. I'm not touching this game, but I would absolutely bet the Bills.
I'm not either. You would?
I would bet.
Because you think it's all right.
There's revenge.
Yeah, it's fair.
There's revenge. Buffalo needs this game to stay as the 1 seed. Mike White had a horrendous game. He threw 3 interceptions against Buffalo last year. Quarterbacks don't get revenge. Teams get revenge. So I don't expect him to come, I'm going to fuck Buffalo up this year. I don't think so. More injuries on the offensive line. Max, whatever the hell his name is, the right tackle got hurt again, so he's out for the season. Jets offensive line is banged up. So I still stand by what I said with the first time they played. The problem for Buffalo is that the Jets have this is an issue every week for any team that wants to throw the ball. The Jets have 2 elite corners. It just is what it is. So there are going to be limits on how much you can throw the ball, and then it'll come down to like, can the Jets get pressure on Josh Allen? Can they stop him from running as much as he did in the first game? Frankly, but yeah, I can't imagine. I could easily see this being a double-digit win. 35-17, something like that. Easily.
Von Miller also out for the year.
Bad one. That's a bad one. All that money invested, it looked like a great call. Like all season, it was like, dude, this is exactly what they needed. You go out and you beat Kansas City earlier in the
Close
season.
out games with him. Like, oh, I know.
Yes.
I know.
And now he's gone for the season. And originally they didn't think he was out for the season. It might just be a few weeks. And then it's boom, done for the season. Wow. That massive blow. And you wonder what that does to their psyche, because they were looking at this as like, this is the last piece we needed.
Right.
And now you don't have that last piece. Are you stuck back where you were? You know, I don't know. It's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough loss, man. That's a tough loss for them. They're still a good team and they'll still get pressure, but that's a tough one.
Well, I think I'm sniffing out your fishy bet of the week with this.
I might have something fishy.
Minnesota at Detroit. Am I right?
Well, I might have a little something to say about this later. This is a fascinating game, though, regardless, because Detroit clearly playing much better the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And specifically, listen, their offense was mostly on early in the season, sometimes not great, but mostly on. But their defense was really bad. And in the last 5 weeks, to Aaron Glenn's credit, their defense has played significantly better.
Yes.
Like significantly better. So that's interesting. And then the other side of it is Vikings, say what you want. As we said before, it's not always pretty. It's not always easy. It's not always obvious, but they're 10-2. And you're going to a dome, so it's not going to be a tough one. It's not so easy to just say like, oh, this or that. But of course, what is interesting, and this may plant some seeds for somebody, they're 10-2. Do you know Detroit's record?
5-7?
Something like that, right? But yet Detroit's favored by 2.5.
I know.
Fishy. But I may have something to say about that later.
I could listen to Dan Campbell's post-game locker room speeches all day long.
It's so good, right? It's so good. But it tastes a lot better when you're winning.
Oh, yeah.
You can only do that so many times, when you're losing. So
another tough one in the NFC East. I feel like that's going to be the rest of the year when they play each other at this point. The Giants go to the the Eagles go to the Meadowlands.
Yeah. Listen, we kind of snuffed this team out we were kind of saying the whole first half of the season, like, I don't know. I just don't think they're as good as their record is showing. And they're 1-3-1 in their last 5 games. So I think they've come down to earth. You can make an argument that they could have won this last game, probably should have won this last game, but they didn't. And good teams win those games, and I don't think they're a good team, and the Eagles are. But the funny thing is the NFC East is like this. In-division rivalries are weird. I would expect Philadelphia to handle them, but it doesn't always go that way, man. We thought that a few weeks ago when Philly lost, and it doesn't always go that way. So, it is funny. Like I still don't believe that the Giants are a good team, but they don't know that. You know what I mean?
Oh, Bobby Mack joins the show. All right. He's not wrong. They did get exposed against the Lions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's
and that's what you said before with the Lions offense. If that's how much they've improved, where the Lions offense exposes a good defense.
Right.
Or at the time a good defense.
Right.
Both could be true.
Absolutely. But to be fair, like the Giants defense for the most part has been pretty good all season. Like I think that's been more or less what has kept them together. Yes. Shockingly enough, because I don't think either of us thought their defense was going to be that great this year, but it's pretty damn good.
Even against Dallas on Thanksgiving, they put their offense put them in 2 bad spots, and
I think it's a tall ask. I think it's a tall ask against Philadelphia for all the reasons that we mentioned when we were talking about Philly and Jalen Hurts before. I think it's a tall ask. I just really do.
What's his face really?
But stranger things have happened.
Wade Martindale's been great for that Giants defense.
Fantastic.
When they get a couple more guys, and Thibodeau started to show up pulse too.
Yep.
I know me and Mac talk about that all the time. He's finally last 2 weeks. He's finally been what you want in a top 5
he was
pick.
Like got hurt earlier in the season, so who knows? It's always tough coming off injury, especially for a rookie. But yeah, it's a funky game, man.
Yeah,
the road, in division on the road is always, who would have ever thought a few weeks back Buffalo would have lost to the Jets? I didn't even think they were. I was hoping for them, but I wouldn't even think it.
Right.
Like strange things happen in division on the road all the freaking time, all the time. It seems like such an obvious. The Eagles. Giants are 1-3 in their last 5. And Eagles are great. in division on the road.
Yeah.
Both teams are fighting for playoff spots. So trust me, Giants are going to show up full of vim and vinegar. They want to win this game too. So it's not just a throwaway game for them. They think they're a possible playoff team. So yeah, it's not so obvious.
The hometown boy, Tom Brady at 45, goes home to San Fran to play Jimmy G. Oh, no, he does not. He plays Brock Purdy. That would have been a nice storyline, but Jimmy breaks his foot. Brock Purdy in. I got to tell you, man, Brady better get that ball out fast on Sunday. He is going to be in trouble.
I'll tell you what, man. I agree with you 100%. San Fran's defense is great, period. And now you're going to throw a bad offensive line at them. Look at what they just did to Miami, who had one of the most prolific offenses in the league. I kind of laid out to you that maybe it wasn't as good as we all thought because of who they were playing and who they were scoring a lot of points off of. But still, you're supposed to score. If you're a good team, you're supposed to score a lot of points against bad teams. But god damn, did San Fran just put a hurting on them quick? And that's not a bad offensive line. So now you got to put a statue of a quarterback behind a bad offensive line against, I don't know, maybe the best pass rushing team in the league now since Von Miller's out. That's a recipe for fucking disaster on the road. Hello.
Short week.
But we'll see if Tampa comes up with some schemes, to confuse a rookie quarterback. Got to remember that too. Last week they were prepared.
They had video on them.
That team was prepared for Garoppolo, so they looked at it a certain way. Now you're like, hey, let's, do you want to bring a lot of pressure because he's a rookie quarterback, force some mistakes? That could happen too,
Yep.
So
short week as well for the Buccaneers.
Last
one for me. I believe this game's Sunday night. Miami at the Chargers. Interesting matchup. Miami coming off a loss. Chargers coming off what they do.
The game is in LA?
Yes, it is.
So back-to-back West Coast road games for Miami.
Unless they stayed there. Who knows?
Yeah. I can't stand Staley.
Good catch. I know, me neither.
I can't stand them. I like my initial instinct is it's a tough spot for them. For Miami.
I gotta tell you,
I don't trust Staley.
I trust the Dolphin coach 100 times more, and he's been coaching for 7 minutes.
And you know me, I'm not a huge fan of his,
Yeah,
but at this point, I agree with you totally.
Yeah.
I agree with you totally. I've seen nothing from Staley that's like this guy's the man. Like even just from a leadership perspective, forget the shitty decision making, which there has been a ton. Like I don't see like this great alpha leader guy who's mobilizing his guys to battle and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot of Chargers players talking about their coach like you hear Dolphins players talking about their coach.
Right.
I know it's early, but they seem to love playing for him. I don't hear that about Staley.
I saw a clip last week. I guess it was a bad play call or whatever, and they called timeout, and McDaniel goes to the guys, I fucked up. That's on me. Like, that's all on me. Don't worry about it. We'll change it. Yep.
Yeah.
Right in the huddle to the guys. So.
Yep. No, that shit goes a long way.
It does.
That shit goes a long way. So, my first instinct is be like, Chargers should win this game. They're home. Miami's licking their wounds. They're probably banged up to shit. I think they're a better team. They got a bad coach.
I mean, at some point we got to stop saying that. I don't know if they're a better team than half these teams are. I mean, this is ridiculous. 6-6 team.
Who's their D end?
Khalil Mack.
And who else? Who's the other dude? They got another guy.
Yeah, they do have another guy. What the hell's the other guy?
It's not Bosa.
It is Bosa, but he's out, I think, right?
Yeah. Is he? Yeah, it's just every year. I mean, you picked them to win for. Oh, you took Denver, right? You probably took Denver.
No, I took the Chargers.
Yeah, and that's 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And my point is not to say that you were wrong.
No,
my point is to say there's a reason you did that.
Sure.
There's a reason. You expect you're looking. You're like, this is a talented football team.
I really thought this guy was going to learn from his mistakes last year, and he has not. He's gotten worse.
It's just,
yeah. Let's talk some college football, sir.
Yes, would love to. Who doesn't love college football?
Championship weekend in the rearview mirror.
Not the best championship weekend I've ever seen.
It's been 2 in a row now that they haven't been great. I don't know if when they expand this thing, I don't know if they're going to do away with these things because how many games you want these kids to play at this point? But
I hope not, though. I mean, I think conference championship should be the goal of every college football team.
Yeah,
Let
I
the
kind of
other
agree
stuff
with
take
that.
care of itself, but your conference championship should be where it's at. Did we get to talk about the USC Utah game last week, or we didn't get to yet?
We did the preview. We didn't get a
We
chance
did.
to talk about
Okay,
the game.
yeah, okay.
We'll start there. Friday night, USC up to a 14-0 lead, 17-3 on fire.
17-3.
Then all of a sudden, here comes what Utah does. And USC forgot how to tackle in that second half. Holy shit.
Well, they
man.
never really had a great defense this year at all, but it didn't matter because Caleb Williams was just so good all year. And there was a part of me that after when the game was over and I saw that Caleb Williams had done that shit with his fingernails again, like he did last week with
getting a little
Utah, and I'm like, wow, is this who Lincoln Riley is? Did Lincoln Riley know? And if you didn't, why didn't you? Because he did it last week against
UCLA,
right? Is that the USC way, or is that the USC way? Is that how you do business now? Is that what you want to do? I used to say all the time with Cam Newton when he would score a touchdown and he would push his own teammates out of the way who were trying to congratulate him so that he could do the Superman thing with his fucking shirt. And I'm like, dude, that's bad business because now you're painting a target on your back. And I don't think that's ever good for a quarterback to paint a target. Like, the defense is out to get you now.
Yep.
Now it's not even about winning. It's about putting a hurting on you. Right. And I feel like that's kind of what happened here. Because if you notice after the game, Rising, the quarterback for Utah, made some kind of comment about the nails. And it was like, kind of up your ass, you fucker. We beat you twice this year.
I was just going to say, he's shown me something because he not only that, but he also said there was a recruiting something that Lincoln Riley kind of screwed him over at Oklahoma.
Oh, really?
And he goes, if I ever get a chance to play that guy, I'm going to show him. He did it twice.
Only two losses of the year. And this one, the other one, it was by the way, USC was one of my picks last week because I thought it was kind of flukish that they beat him last time. USC was winning that game and Utah scored late. And I figured, man, neutral site. Plus, they've been playing better and better every week. And Frank, like you said, they got out to a 17-3 lead. It looked as dominating in that first quarter as you could imagine. And then it just all changed. I think USC scored one more touchdown the rest of the game. And that was it. Like, you would have never predicted that after the first quarter. But that's exactly what happened. And Utah went nuts. It's a great win for them in that program. Kyle Whittingham again, right? Like,
amazing.
Geez, what
amazing.
Great coach. Took over for Urban Meyer.
Yep. 20 years ago.
Urban Meyer and has been there ever since.
What was it? Yeah, I guess 20 years ago. Yeah. Wow.
Give or take, right? Something around there. Kansas
State in an overtime thriller against TCU.
I hit this one. Got a little lucky, to be honest. Kansas State's a pretty good team. I'm gonna throw this out at you. He's a junior. The quarterback for Kansas State,
Howard.
Yeah, Will is his name. Will Howard.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on him next year. Now, I don't know what kind of offensive line they have coming back, and I don't know what kind of receivers they have coming back. Dude, this kid's like 6'5", 240, and he's got a fucking cannon for an arm. It doesn't come around very often, and I promise you there's going to be some guys in the NFL that are like, give me that, and I'll figure out a way to work with it.
Definitely not a Kansas State that doesn't come around.
No. Plus, he can run. He ran the ball. I wouldn't call him a runner, but he can run. He ran for a couple first downs.
Yep.
He's a load. He's a big, strong dude. Keep an eye on him. But this was, I kind of said last week, I thought this would be the most entertaining game of the week, and I think of the weekend, and I think it was.
Oh yeah,
that was a great game.
Yep.
Both teams played fantastic. TCU, what's that kid's name? The quarterback,
Max Duggan.
I mean, the show that he put on that last drive, was that to get the tie?
Yeah, and I don't know how they don't give it to him in overtime. Two possessions, they hand the ball up. Oh, my God.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, did you guys just forget what happened like 5 minutes ago?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Like, why aren't you doing any of these quarterback draws? You're just going to, like, line up under center and hand it off to a running back? Like,
well, you fake a quarterback draw, you're going to have three guys wide open standing in the back of the end zone because they're all going to go, oh, shit.
Dude, I'm with you 100% on that one. That one was bizarre to me.
I
didn't get that at all. That one, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, dude, this guy just ran like 75 yards in one series and got you the tie.
Picking up his lungs as he's walking off the field.
Yeah, guys are trying to congratulate. He's like, dude, just give me
a minute. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a great game. Kansas State is a real football team. That's a good football team.
Yeah.
So
Now they play Alabama in a bowl game too, which would be pretty good.
So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if they're up to that level, but
you know,
we'll
when Bama's not in the playoffs, sometimes they don't really show up either. So we'll see.
A lot of those big time teams, if they don't make the
well,
playoffs,
we have weeks to get into those games, but
yeah.
Georgia shows why they're number one. Pounds LSU. LSU hung in for about 9 minutes, and then it was just 90-9.
Yeah, that was that game was an example of like when things start rolling in the wrong direction. Sometimes, there's nothing you can do about it because it was close. Actually, LSU was moving the ball pretty well.
Yeah, they were.
And they had a turnover.
Block kick for a touchdown.
Yeah, and it was boom, 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 boom. And the next thing you know, it's freaking 28-7. I was like, what the hell just happened? And that happened over like 5-6 minutes. It didn't take very long.
Listen, credit to Brian Kelly, year one there. He's going to get that thing
absolutely.
cooking. So.
Dude, they're way ahead of schedule. Plus, their quarterback got banged up in that game. I don't even think he finished.
Yeah, two bad ankles. Like it looked like he couldn't stand in the third quarter.
Yeah, Brian Kelly's a good football coach. If you're an LSU fan, trust me when I tell you, they're going to be just fine next year. They're ahead of schedule. They're a year ahead of schedule, like at least a year ahead of schedule. The fact that they like beat Alabama, the fact that they were even a consideration for the college football playoffs, the fact that they made the championship game, like their conference championship game, that's crazy. Nobody thought that. Nobody thought that beginning of the season. All we knew was Brian Kelly was a weirdo because of the weird shit he did in the offseason with the weird accent.
Dancing and the accent, yeah.
It's just too much. Too much.
Clemson blows out North Carolina, and they really blew a chance to sneak into this college football playoff, dude. After a little haywireness Friday night and Saturday afternoon, it was after they lose by South Carolina the week before by 1. If they win, they might be in.
This is stubbornness on the head coach because everybody on the planet other than Dabo Swinney recognized that Uiagalelei was not a good quarterback. He got replaced in a previous game earlier this season, and this kid came in and showed out in that game. It might have been the Syracuse game.
I was just going to say, yep.
I think it was a Syracuse game, yeah. And they end up winning that game, even though Syracuse had a lead for most of that game. But Dabo Swinney was stubborn. And it's funny because I think DJ knew what was coming because as soon as that game was over, he basically entered the transfer portal. So he knew his time was over.
But also Dabo pisses me off because he was like, when DJ announced that, he was kind of like, oh, well, that's good. Good luck to him, whatever. If you're pissed off at him, you had a lot to do with that. Like, you could have played the other guy weeks ago and maybe
absolutely. To me, he was stubborn. Like, you are you just not willing to admit what everyone else can see? Like, we have been talking about this all season. I've been calling them a fraud that they were in the top 5. Like, I don't even think they're a top 10 team. And he looked bad in the beginning of that game, too. And then the other kid comes in and he just goes off, which is funny because then you look and you say, oh, wait a minute. That team is still pretty loaded. Remember, we were like, what happened? Maybe they're not recruiting as well. Oh, guess what? That team is still very, very loaded on both sides of the ball. They had a really bad quarterback. They just had a really bad quarterback. That was the freaking problem. As soon as they put in a better quarterback, holy shit, they're scoring 40 and you know, shutting the other team down. Like, whoa, okay. Hello. So not a great game, but it said a lot. It said a lot. The game told us a lot. We learned a lot from that game. So look out for Clemson next year, folks. Hate to break it to you. They're going to be back on the scene.
And they play a bad ACC schedule.
Yep.
Last one, the Wolverines beat Purdue in Indianapolis. Purdue hung around there again for the half, and then Michigan comes out in the second half and do what they do.
I was a little concerned. I didn't want to text you because I know you love to put them, you know, say I'm the mush as if I had that kind of power. I wish I did. But I was like, I said to you last week, I'm like, gotta be careful. Like, Purdue is not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. And if you play shitty, they can beat you. And you're absolutely right. They hung around for a while, playing pretty physical, making plays, not giving up a lot of big runs. I don't know how much of that was like Michigan kind of sleepwalking through the first half, but Jim Harbaugh is a really good coach. Probably got up their ass during halftime. Very different game in the second half. And Michigan showed exactly who they are. And came out and just pummeled them. I will say this. I think a game like this, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like shows the brilliance of a Nick Saban. And here's why I'll say this. Because I think Jim Harbaugh is a really great coach. I always have. I thought he got a bad rap earlier. Like, I thought the expectations for Michigan, like, you're winning 10 games every year. Why are you breaking this guy's balls? Because you're not beating Ohio State or you're not winning. This is not a perennial national championship type team, although the last 2 years they are. But I think he's a great coach. And even he wasn't able to stop Michigan from at least what looked like coming out flat in the first half of that game. You never see Alabama do that. Like, you never see Alabama never comes out flat. When they have teams that they're supposed to beat, they come out and it's 35-0 at the, halfway through the second quarter. And I wonder, like, what is that? Like, what's going on there? Because Jim Harbaugh's a really good coach. So, and I know style has something to do with it sometimes because Michigan was still trying to just force that running game, which is fine. I like it. I'm glad they do that. But it just made me think, like, wow, man, Saban really is a good coach because Alabama never does that. They never come out flat.
2 championships in a row, 2 Big Tens for Michigan. That's a huge thing. That's really nice. But I like all the players. They're like, listen, that was like the goal. Last year, that's what, like, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten. Yep. This year, it's like, all right, we want to go further than we did last year. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll get into this. We'll get into this more at some point. But
yeah, so just real quick,
it's a real. They're real. This is a real football team that has a real chance at a championship.
I hope so. I don't know, but just to announce it real quick, the college football Final Four: number 1 Georgia against number 4 Ohio State, and number 2 Michigan against number 3 TCU.
Did you have any problem with this?
I'm just going to ask you the same thing. No, I don't. You know what? And I'll tell you why. Committee can't be talking out of both sides of your mouth. What's the word I'm looking for? Being hypocritical. Because a lot of people, Ohio State should have been 3 and they should have played Michigan in the first round. All right. Why? Because they sat home and TCU actually played it in a 12-0 win championship game and lost in overtime. Right. And last year, when everyone won the Georgia-Alabama rematch, God forbid, SEC, we can't have a rematch in the first round if it's the final. So you can't do it now to the Big Ten because it's not your fucking precious SEC. So I'm glad they stuck to their guns and they did the right thing.
Oh, I think they should. I think Ohio State should just be thanking their lucky stars that they're in at all, because a lot of things had to happen for them to even be in the playoffs at all. USC had to lose, which was a little bit of a surprise. TCU goes down, but it didn't stop them. They needed Clemson to lose 2 games, which they did. Like, they needed help here, and they got it.
Losses and,
Tennessee goes down and then goes down again with Hendon Hooker getting hurt. Like, a lot of had to happen.
Yeah, that's tough too. Yeah.
So I sat there and I'm like, man, Ohio State's in? Doesn't seem right. Because I look and I say, well, what are their big wins? Like Penn State? Like, that's what you're hanging your hat on, that you beat Penn State at
everyone keeps saying Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost to Marshall and Stanford. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, like, that's not not this year. That's not a game that you hang your hat on, like, as to say, well, this is why we should be in. But then I look and I say, if not Ohio State, then who?
Right.
That's the problem. There's nobody else. Alabama? I don't think so, dude. You got 2 losses.
And Saban crying at halftime in a Big Ten championship. Nick, Jesus Christ. Why are you playing the regular season for, Nick, if we're not going to count them?
Like, you can't just be on reputation.
Right, then when the rankings come out in August, then let's just play the final. Is that what we're going to do? Come on, dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not like they lost to Georgia. If one of those losses was Georgia, like an undefeated Georgia, maybe you have an argument. But you lost to 2 teams that also have two or 3 losses.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you lost to Michigan, who was undefeated, or Ohio State, who had 1 loss. You lost to teams who have multiple losses.
Right. Totally.
Like, your loss is as bad as 1 TCU loss, but that was even in a championship game.
You could almost argue Penn State's losses are better than Alabama's losses.
Who did Penn State lose to?
Michigan and Ohio State.
Those are their only 2 losses?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, you got a better argument there.
Right?
Of course those are better. Now, they got beat pretty good by both of those teams.
Yeah.
There wasn't field goal losses like Alabama, but yeah, Alabama to me has no argument. What were your good wins? Forget about your losses. You got 2 losses. Okay.
Yeah.
But what are you hanging your hat on?
They barely beat Texas after Urs goes down. Yeah. No.
That's what I'm saying. What are you hanging your hat on? What were your good wins?
Stop it.
Well, you beat Texas A&M?
Yeah. Barely?
That's what I'm saying. It's a 500 ball club. They make a bowl game? Texas A&M even get a bowl game?
No, sir.
No. Like, who's your big win? Florida? What are you hanging your hat on? What are you saying? Like, well, look, these are our marquee wins.
Well, now you got me curious here.
I did have a little problem with that with Ohio State. I'm like, all right, Penn State, but like, what else? Wisconsin? Like, what are you hanging your hat on? Purdue? I don't even know. I don't know.
Purdue?
I don't know who else Ohio State beat. Okay, so Penn State. And I get it. You gotta play who's on your schedule, and that's that. But that was the problem when it came to Ohio State. I'm like, well, who else?
Right.
If it's not Ohio State, then who else? And there just wasn't enough who else's.
Well, that's the thing. That's the – oh, yeah. They beat Auburn. Like, what are we talking about, dude? It's like –
not making a play. Did they get a bowl game? Did they end up with 6 wins? Auburn?
Nope.
No, right? It's like who's your
Arkansas,
marquee?
They beat Arkansas. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Mississippi. Oh, they beat Austin Peay 34-0. Congratulations, Nick.
That was a good one, yeah.
Idiot.
Division II.
And I like Sam, but that's a little – come on, man.
Well, no, listen, I get him arguing for his team. You're going to lobby for your team, of course, but there's no argument to be made there. It's just, I dismiss it out of hand. You have no wins to hang your hat on. You just don't. You don't have any marquee wins. All the teams that you played that were marquee games, you lost. Close, but you lost.
Yeah.
Sucks for you.
All right, let's gamble.
Love it. Let me find some music. Do I have music here?
One of our best.
Quick week, though. We got a quick week.
Tomorrow, Saturday. I forgot what that was. Army, Navy.
Oh, let's do it. Listen, I've asked you, like, have you been to this game?
I have not. I had a small chance to go last year, and it didn't work out. Yeah, it's on the bucket list for sure, dude.
Yeah, it's unlike any experience I've ever been a part of when it comes to like going to a football game. You go to cheer for your team, or you go, because it's like a marquee game. This is not great football. The atmosphere is unlike anything you've ever seen in your life. Now, I don't think either of these teams were terribly great this year. Am I correct in that? I think Air Force is the one who won the Commanders.
Commander-in-Chief, yeah.
So, what are their records? Do you have their records there?
I believe one of them is 5-6, and the other one's 4-7. Hold the phone. I got it real quick here. If the phone works, it'd be even better. I shouldn't have said quick. Navy is 4-7, and Army is 5-6.
Yeesh.
Navy is giving 2.5.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with who I always go with. Well, I shouldn't say that's not true, but I'm going with them this year. I'm going to take Army.
I'm going to take Army as well.
I'm going to take Army because it's going to be my rooting interest. This is a toss-up, so then I just go with my rooting interest. So I'm going to take Army. But I love it. I start watching about a half hour ahead of time. I love it all. This is the one time where I don't get political. If the president comes out on a field, I think it's cool as shit that the players get to, get to have the president come out there. I just, I was there and Obama came out. I'm no Obama fan, but I get choked up just seeing the players get a chance to be by the president of the United States. I just think it's cool. It doesn't ever happen. The president doesn't go out for the Super Bowl, but he comes out for the Army Navy. I just think it's cool shit.
Watching some stuff on TV before that game, man, it's like it gets you.
Oh, the stories!
It gets you emotional. It gets you happy. It gets you fired up. It gets you. It brings out. It's a full day of emotion.
There's a lot. There's pride. There's gratitude that you feel. You forget that these are not just like college students who play football, but these are like, these are guys and girls that are going to battle. Like it's something else when you see all the cadets from both from both schools and stuff like that. It's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a thing. It's a really cool experience. But I'm going to go with Army. Go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah, I got the same. Let's go to Sunday in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take – we just talked about it. Mac, this is for you, buddy. I'm going to take the Giants +7 at home against the Eagles. NFC East matchups.
Something about that, I like it.
Yeah, NFC East matchups are really tough. I think it's going to be – the Giants going to want to hold the ball. But I don't want to –
One of our listeners just wrote in because if you want, you can listen and watch us live on YouTube when we do. Bob Mack wrote in, Biden will attend and cheer for Scranton. I like that. Line. And you're probably right.
The Giants will try to keep the ball out of Hurts' hand and run the ball with Jones, run the ball with Barkley, 6-yard dumps. And I think they can kind of maybe do the best they can with that. I don't know how long it lasts, but I think the Giants could probably, I'd say maybe 27-21 Philadelphia.
Okay.
Giants backdoor cover it or something like that.
Maybe a couple turnovers. Maybe that wind kicks up at MetLife Stadium. Maybe they open one of the tunnels on a late field goal or something. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a close game. We talked about that earlier. I mentioned earlier that something smelled a little fishy. Why on earth would the 10-2 Vikings be underdogs at the sub 500 Detroit Lions? It's telling me something. It's telling me that Vegas doesn't think the Vikings, as you kind of said, like you can't live like this. You can't constantly have these close games and think you're going to pull them all off. I think this is the week that they don't pull it off. Here I am, big dummy, going back to my hard knocks roots.
Campbell, damn it.
Going back to my hard knocks roots. I'm taking the Detroit Lions, the Fighting Dan Campbells, -2.5. They win by a field goal at home against the Vikings, and the place goes nuts, and he gets a 2-year contract extension.
Oh, I like it.
$8 million.
More just there. One of the greatest rivalries over the last 20 seasons in the NFL would be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh's turned it on up a notch. C.J. Watt's been back. I think they got a little bit more energy in that locker room. Kenny Pickett looks like signs of life, although I think George Pickens, their future star wide receiver, is a little bit of a diva already. He's a little bit of a loudmouth.
Of course. He's a Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. Of course he is.
Ravens, no Lamar, but we just bragged about Huntley before.
Yeah.
I think another close, sloppy 16-13 type of game.
Could see that.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh here -2.5 against the Ravens.
You know, it's funny you say that because I kind of agree. I like this a little bit. But we were kind of writing off Mike Tomlin and the Steelers earlier in the season, say, hey, looks like finally they're going to have their first losing season under Mike Tomlin. I will tell you this. If it's not, if they end up with like a 9-8 record somehow this year,
best coaching job he's done.
Best coaching job he's done. Best coaching. I know he's won a Super Bowl, but that team was loaded. Not that anybody could have won it, but like it's not as impressive as taking a team that frankly we thought was dead. We thought they were dead. Kenny Pickett playing very well. Defense is really playing well. So yeah, if he does this masterful coaching job, he has even more respect, I think, than he had before. I thought when you said rivalry game, I thought you might even be going to this one. And this is another rivalry right in the same division. You got the Bengals, who are just coming off a huge win against Kansas City, going to the rapist Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I got to stick to what I've been seeing and saying, which is that the Bengals, to me, are a team that week after week after week, they're tweaking and constantly adjusting and improving. They're getting better every single week, and I don't think they're going to let down now. I think they want to win this division, get a home playoff game. And I just think if you look at last week, you say the Browns won, they didn't have an offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter. Like they had all kinds of crazy scoring going on in that game. It's not like Deshaun Watson went off, and I don't even like blame him. Kid hasn't played in 700 days. So it's not like suddenly you just turn that right back on. And I think the Bengals are a team that's playing better and better every week. So give me the Bengals -6 over the Browns. I could see them winning by double digits here, or at least more than a touchdown.
You don't want to take the Broncos against the Chiefs in a divisional game?
No, I think that could be a very dangerous game. I think that could get ugly quick. An angry Kansas City Chiefs team. Yeesh.
I think this one's a little bit with my heart, not my head, but no one ever said I was very smart. Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to San Francisco. Brock Purdy's first start. Todd Bowles, Larry Foote, and the Buccaneers defensive staff, and they got some footage on this guy now. They're probably going to play up front. They don't want Kittle to beat him, and they don't want Deebo Samuel to beat him, and they don't want McCaffrey to beat him. They got fast linebackers.
That's a lot to ask.
But this guy's going to dump the ball off. That's all he did last week was dump the ball off. He didn't take any shots last week.
Throw it.
Tom Brady does just enough.
Oh, my goodness.
Low-scoring slugfest. I think it's going to be – listen, guys, take some unders this week. I got everything going 9-6 for Christ's sake.
Yeah, like all teams scoring. What is this, the 1970s?
3 years in a cloud of dust.
Oh, my God.
Give me Tampa Bay +2.5. I don't know if they win, but I think they come.
What's the spread?
3.5.
Oh, dude, I do not agree with you on this one at all. Although your reasoning is kind of what we were saying before. Like, they're not just going to sit back and let this kid have time. They're probably going to come after him. The question is, can they get after him?
Right.
San Fran's got a really good offensive line, and they got a pretty good running game. You know, you got to be prepared for that too. San Fran's a good football team. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Tampa, you can't just wait till the last 5 minutes. I will tell you this. Tampa. You can't just wait for the last 5 minutes.
I didn't love picking a game. There wasn't much I liked this week.
I know there was a lot. I felt the same way. I felt the same way.
Buys? What the fuck is going on? Like,
that's how I felt with like the Detroit game. Although I like it,
yeah,
I didn't want to take it because I got burned by Detroit so many goddamn times earlier in the season.
See, you were a jinx. God damn it! I've been telling you for years.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
I think I know where you're gonna go next.
I only had two.
Oh, you didn't take a third?
I didn't take a third.
Oh,
I didn't take a third.
Pussy.
I only took two. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I took Army. That was my third.
All right. We suck anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the fewer the better. I should have just taken one. Maybe I can hit one. Hey, there was some. You texted me last night, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And what's the guy's name?
John Heyman.
John Heyman jumped the gun a little bit, saying that the Giants had signed Aaron Judge. And I come to find out today, it looks like actually San Diego was maybe closer to getting it done than even the Giants were, which is interesting because we heard at the end of the baseball season that San Fran had said, we will do whatever we have to do. We'll offer whatever the Yankees offer, we're going to offer more. And it looks like that wasn't the case. So what was the end? What was the final contract?
9 years, $360 million, Peter.
What does that end up being? Like $40 million a year on average?
Yep. He will be 31 in April.
Older.
How many good years do you think he's got?
6, 5, 6.
Yes, if he gets 6, I'll be happy with 6.
Relatively healthy. He's relatively healthy.
Until he runs into a wall and who knows. But
this is a tough spot because how do you not sign him after he hits 62 home runs?
I know.
He's got you over a barrel, dude. Like you have no choice unless there was someone else that could have been in the works to replace him. I don't know that they had a choice. 9 years is a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And then
it's gonna be 40.
As soon as he starts going down, then Stanton's contract comes off, and then this guy's going to be like,
he'll be the new Stanton.
Listen,
how many years does Stanton have left? 3?
5.
5 more years of Stanton, dude.
My buddy at work looked it up the other day. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that is insane.
Oh, I just lost my light here.
Yeah, that's.
Oh well, what are you gonna do? We're at the end of the episode anyway.
You look good in the dark.
You gotta look better, right?
You gotta
turn all the lights off. You might be right about that. I don't know.
Bobby Mack says the last 2 years of that contract would be a boat anchor. I might argue 4.
Well, listen, the only saving grace is that baseball doesn't have a salary cap, so you could just kind of eat it. Whatever, they're the New York Yankees. You can tolerate that. But yeah, it's gross. Do we forget the A-Rod years? Do we forget like Pujols with the California?
No.
Like, do we forget all this stuff? Like, when do you learn your lesson and just say, or are you just too afraid to say to the public, hey, we just couldn't give the years. It wasn't the money, it was the years. But they couldn't do it. I don't know it would have been a tough sell. It'd be a really tough sell to tell New York Yankees fans after they just had a record, he just had a record-setting season, at least in the American League record-setting. I don't know how you don't sign him, but I don't think they had much of a choice. But that's a lot, and it's a long contract, $40 million a year.
And he's a big man.
There's some serious money flying around for people that think that baseball is dead. I mean, you got a pitcher. What did Verlander get for the Mets?
Oh, 43?
It's $43 million a year for 2 years.
And he's 38, 39 years old.
He's going to be 39. He's 39 years old.
Wow.
He's going to be 39 and 40. Oh, now he was the best pitcher in baseball this year. So I don't know how much that matters. As opposed to DeGrom, who got a contract with Texas. You never know when he's going to play. He never plays.
I was just going to say, the money is so crazy now. Guys don't even care about winning. This guy goes to Texas? Like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, I don't know what else was offered to him. And
I'm no Met fan, but the Mets are 100 better position than the Rangers are.
But I don't know if they wanted him at all because he never plays. He's always hurt.
But he never gave the Mets a chance to counter either.
He didn't?
No.
Okay. But there's some freaky money flying around, man. So anybody who think, oh, baseball's dying, it seems to me baseball's doing just fine. Baseball's doing just fine. 90 in the books, dude. You know the countdown is on that you're not going to be able to name players.
I know.
I got 10 more episodes.
I gotta figure out something to do.
You got to come up with a new gig. You need a new side gig.
I got 5 for you, bro.
Let me hear 'em.
Players number 5.
What do you think? Before you say them, what do you think about your list? Is this a good list? Is it A list, a B list?
I'm gonna go A list, dude.
Ooh, okay,
No doubt about it.
Let's hear him.
Number 5, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 2011 All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. Not a fan of fireworks. Ex-Giant and Buccaneer pass rusher Jason Pierre-Paul. Number 4, Super Bowl champion, 2010 Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2010 All-Decade Team, former Lion, Dolphin, Ram, Buccaneer, and now current Eagle defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh.
Jesus.
Number 3, 1999 Rookie of the Year and All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, former Titan and Eagles defensive end Javon Curse. Number 2, 2002 Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, 2000s and 2010 All-Decade future Hall of Famer, ex-Panther, Bear, and Packer defensive end Julius Peppers.
I think if you make the all-decade team 2 different decades,
Yeah.
you got to be a Hall of
I
Famer.
think you're right,
Although off the first mention of his name, I'm like,
Yeah. More than
Did
5
he ever-
seconds.
did he ever lead the league in sacks?
Yeah,
I don't know,
think
maybe
he did.
did
I
he?
think he did, yeah.
So yeah, maybe. But two decades, all-decade team?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a lock.
And number 1, 2021 Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler. He's only 28 years old. Steeler outside linebacker TJ Watt.
Yes, very good. Makes all the. You talk about one guy
Let's go list,
on
right?
defense making a difference. TJ Watt makes all the difference in the world for that team. Like they go from being an average defense to a great defense just with one guy. In light of the recent signing of Aaron Judge, I have some New York Yankees trivia for you, Mr. Bracey. Let's see if you can answer this. In 1960 and 61, excuse me, Roger Maris won the AL MVP award.
Mm-hmm.
Who finished second in close voting both of those seasons? So Roger Maris won the AL MVP, both of those years, 1960 and 61.
I don't think it's Mantle, right?
Who won the second place both seasons? Who was the runner-up both seasons?
Was it Yogi?
Is that your guess?
Yeah,
What's your guess?
Yogi.
I'll put it to you this way. It's one of those two that you just mentioned.
Yogi.
Wrong. Mickey Mantle.
It
Mickey
was
Mantle
Mickey
was
Mantle.
was
I thought it was
runner-up
too
both-
obvious.
Both your sometimes it is the obvious. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's the obvious. Great job, man. We got a lot in a shorter amount of time. I was running a little late today because how dare work keep me in a
It's ridiculous.
staff meeting on a day that we have a podcast?
Absolutely ridiculous.
It's absurd.
I'm going to write a letter.
I think you should. I'll give you the address afterwards. Okay.
Next Wednesday, guys, same time. Well, maybe not same time, maybe earlier, but definitely the same day. So
Definitely same day. We'll try to put it out ahead of time so you guys have an idea of what time we're going to be doing
thank
it.
you,
So,
Mac. Thanks for
absolutely,
listening.
we appreciate the comments. Always
Yeah,
helps.
definitely.
Always helps. We love that. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
There it is.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, it's excellent. 5:20.
Oh,
Look
right.
at you. We're cooking, baby. Cooking.
Dude, hour and 12. We went from 2 hours and 12 minutes to an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah, no
So-
rush, dude. If you can't get it done tonight, tomorrow, it's only Wednesday, so if you could do it tomorrow, whatever.
Oh, you know what? I'm off tomorrow
Yeah.
because my kids have off, so I took off. It's just easier than trying to find a babysitter. So I'll probably end up doing it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's
you know,
perfect.
or
No
in
problem.
the morning. In the morning.
No
I
problem.
forgot today was Wednesday, so I didn't have to rush to it. Cool.
Yep.
All right, dude.
Thank you, sir.
I'll talk to you soon.
Later, buddy.
Later.